Welcome to Get the Balance Right, a podcast for creative entrepreneurs looking to grow their business in a healthy, sustainable way. I'm your host, Heather Zeitzwolf, CPA and business advisor. Each week, you will learn actionable steps to streamline your processes, increase your profits, and make a bigger impact as a purpose-driven leader. Join me in conversations with CEOs and renegades in digital media, marketing, advertising, and design. Want to ignite your passion for business? Then let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Get the Balance Right podcast. I am your host, Heather Zeitzwolf. On today's show, we are talking all about Pinterest. Yeah, Pinterest. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty on the why and the how you should be using Pinterest as part of your marketing strategy. Now, whether you are a business owner or a marketer, you are going to want to pay attention to this. Because even if you have a service-based business, you can harness the power of Pinterest to help grow your business. And you know what? You're going to learn exactly how to do so in this episode. To discuss this topic, I am joined by Amber Peterson. She is a Pinterest marketing expert and the CEO of Pinw Strategic Marketing. Amber helps her clients increase visibility and drive website traffic by leveraging Pinterest and using her Pinterest superpowers. I discovered Amber when she appeared on Nikki Rausch's podcast. I was so blown away. I was like, oh my God, I must have her on my podcast. Amber was kind enough to accept my invitation, so get ready to have your mind blown as well. Side note, Nikki Rausch also appeared on my podcast, episode 32, where we discussed selling effectively without sleaze. If you haven't listened to that one yet, please check it out. Nikki dropped some major value bombs. All right, Pinterest. Pinterest! Raise your hand if you love Pinterest. Me. Oh my God, I love Pinterest. It's one of my guilty pleasures. It's like eating a gallon of cashew ice cream, except for without the calories. How about you? Do you ever find yourself going down a rabbit hole on Pinterest? I know for me, I might go on there to find, a paint color. And 2 hours later, I've created a new board with weird dolls and I've added 70s fashion to my retro catalog collection. I take great pride in curating my collections, whether it be homes made out of shipping containers, vintage lunch boxes, or funky hairdos. All right, you might be asking, well, yeah, that's fine and all, but what does this have to do with growing your business? And you might be thinking, should I even care about this platform if I provide services? The answer is yes! Yes, the answer is yes. I understand that we cannot be on all social media channels at once. We've talked about that on this podcast before, because that would require too much time and resources. But what makes Pinterest different is that it's an extremely powerful, searchable database. As of January 2021, Pinterest was the 14th largest social network in the world. According to the finding in Hootsuite's Global State of Digital 2021 research, Pinterest ranked below Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Snapchat, but landed above Twitter and Reddit. During 2020, when everyone was home during the pandemic, searching online, Pinterest gained more than 100 million monthly active users. Wow! Which was the biggest increase the platform has ever experienced. According to the study, the Pinterest platform has approximately 459 million monthly active users. The demographics of the platform is shifting. Now, it's always been more dominated by female users. However, in 2020, the male number of users increased nearly 50%. Besides being able to target females, you can target certain age groups. According to the Small Business blog, 80% of millennial women in the U.S. use Pinterest, and 40% of male millennials are also on the platform. Therefore, if you're trying to reach millennials, this platform is the holy grail. Like every other social media platform, Pinterest has changed over the years. Pinterest is no longer just about pinning images to a board. Did you know you can watch videos on Pinterest? You probably do, because 1 billion videos are viewed each day on Pinterest. What? Yes, I said a billion with a B. Understanding the habits of the users are the key to harnessing its powers. Research shows that users go to Pinterest for ideas and inspiration, oftentimes when they're in the early stages of the product and purchase decision. And 95% of the top searches are not related to a brand. What do you search for on Pinterest? What types of things do you pin on your boards? I find it so fascinating to see what people pin. If you want to check out my boards, I've put a link in the show notes to my personal page and my business page. If you want to see pictures of mid-century motels, goth fashion, and 70s TV shows, be sure to check out my boards. Oh, I also have collections of old calculators, plant-based meals on a budget, and adorable cats. If you'd like to follow my Pinterest madness, just check out the links in the show notes. By the way, I'd love to see your boards. Yeah, I'd love to go down that rabbit hole. Send a DM to me on Instagram and send me your Pinterest links. All right, guys, are you ready to have your minds blown? Here's my conversation with Amber Peterson, the Pinterest marketing expert. Amber Peterson, welcome to Get the Balance Right podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am totally excited to have you. I am a huge fan of Pinterest, and you are a Pinterest expert.
Yes, I love Pinterest. I think everyone can utilize it in their business. I love talking about it.
Can you tell the audience just a little bit about yourself and business and what kind of services that you provide?
My business is Pinw Strategic Marketing. I do Pinterest and content marketing, mostly for female entrepreneurs who are content creators, and they just are looking for a way to amplify that content to a bigger audience and get in front of more of their ideal clients.
And how long have you been working in this Pinterest world?
My company started in 2017. Before that, I was a wedding planner for about 10 years, and I built that business utilizing Pinterest quite a bit. I realized that all my clients were planning their weddings on Pinterest, but a lot of wedding professionals were not marketing on Pinterest. From the time it started as a platform, I was using it and just learned about it. And then I got really tired of planning weddings. My education is in marketing. So I was helping a lot of people with their marketing. And I just decided it was time to pivot and started this marketing company, and then very quickly niched down to Pinterest and then the content that creates a really good Pinterest strategy.
When people think about Pinterest, they think visual. Do you think companies or service providers that have businesses that are not visual, can they utilize Pinterest? I mean, do they have to be like interior designers, that sort of thing? Or like, can a dentist use it?
Yeah, really anyone who creates content can use it. You're right about the fact that the search aspect of it is very visual. You do have to have the ability or have someone that you hire or something to create like beautiful pin images. A lot of my clients, we're just using stock photos. So you don't have to have a staff photographer or a videographer or anything. You do have to have nice looking images because that's what grabs the eye when you're scrolling through Pinterest. Really, the important piece is great content when they land on your website, because there are a lot of really beautiful images on Pinterest that go nowhere, or they just dump you onto someone's front page of their website. While people may save those images because they're inspired by them, or they think, wow, that's really pretty, I want to look at it later, that's not going to get you really much in your business. You need to have a piece of content that is the start of their process into your sales funnel. With my clients, we work on not only the visual aspect, having that good piece of content, but what happens when they are finished consuming that piece of content? Is there a call to action at the bottom somewhere to say, join our mailing list or join our Facebook group? Do you want to keep them in your funnel and on track to end up as a paying customer?
Okay, now you're blowing my mind. I want to unpack some of this. So first of all, you're saying that we can use stock photography. I had no idea. Get something from like iStock or something like that, and then we put some self-branding on it. So when someone clicks on it, it brings them to our blog or our page or something, and then that's where we have a call to action.
Correct. Yeah. The cool thing about Pinterest is for the most part, its goal is to get people onto your website. They have some features like story pins and stuff where they're keeping you in the platform, but the simple standalone organic pins, people are either going to save them onto a board of their own to revisit later, or they're going to click on them and that takes them to your website. The whole platform is a traffic driver. A lot of people think of it as social media, but it's really a search engine, and it's next to Google and YouTube. It's the third largest search engine in the world. There's 6 billion searches a month on Pinterest. It's a really quiet but really powerful platform that a lot of people don't use. If you're creating content, and I know people who are content creators, we want to get the most bang for every single piece that we create because it takes a lot to create something really great. Pinterest is just this megaphone, is the way I look at it, that amplifies. As long as you have pins on there, the content is searched forever. Like I said before, I was a wedding planner. There's a pin I put up in 2011 that I still get notifications every week that is driving traffic to my now abandoned wedding planning website. It's a pin that I'm like embarrassed of almost because my work was not how it was when I finished my wedding planning career, but I don't want to take it down because it's still doing work. So you can put something up that's going to drive traffic as long as that piece of content exists on your website.
Okay, so if you put up a piece of content, how does Pinterest know how to make it searchable? Do you have to attach tags to it, or are there like keywords in the title for it? How do you work within their parameters of their algorithms?
The main places that are searchable for a pin are the title and the description. The really simple way to search for keywords in Pinterest is to go into your account and this little search bar at the top, just start looking for words and terms that relate to your content. And they're going to give you a drop down of the most popular searched words and terms. And so you can see if I put in, I'm going to say wedding florist. If I put in wedding florist and then it drops down wedding flowers, pink. Those are what's most searched right now. So I can look and say, is there any of those keywords that I can pop into my description that people are really searching for? And when you're writing your descriptions, it's very conversational. You really want to write how you think people are searching. It's not so much like when you're thinking of SEO, it's like trying to pack them in there into your pages. This is just really, what are people searching for when they pop into the search bar in Pinterest? I feel like it's really easy and fun to figure it out. Like it's a little puzzle. When I start with my clients, we do a big keyword report so that we can have a list of here are the main ones we really want to try and incorporate. You can also watch the trend function that Pinterest has where you can put in keywords and see what's trending in terms of a certain topic or things like that. It's just really like doing your own searches on Pinterest to find what's hitting in the keywords that you use.
What if you have pictures on your website and you have it set up that people can pin from your website? Is there a way to manage how that picture becomes searchable later?
When you put pictures on your website, if you look at the alt text on the back end of the picture, if you put your pin description there, that's what Pinterest pulls for a description when someone pins straight from your website. That's a really good place to not leave it blank. Make sure that you put something there. And if Pinterest is going to be a big part of your marketing strategy, there are programs. There's one called Tasty Pins that like a lot of cooks and people that do like recipe pins and stuff, where you can put a plugin on your website and fill it all out. And that's going to pull. So it's a paid feature, but if you're planning that Pinterest is going to be a big piece and you're going to put a lot of content on your website that you want people to pin, that's a really good tool.
I thought Pinterest was just about making boards. Let's just go back to the whole driving traffic thing. That is just unbelievable. As a service provider, we could have a goal to have more traffic come to our site, and we don't have to worry so much about them pinning it to a board. It's more about driving traffic to their site. And if they do this, should they also be doing using the same images for Instagram and Facebook, or should they make something unique for Pinterest?
I would say that you can definitely use some of the same, but let's say you have a blog post that you are putting on Pinterest. The image you're going to want to make for Pinterest, the dimensions are not anywhere the same as Instagram or Facebook because they need to be a long rectangle. For a blog post or a video or anything, you want your pin to have a text overlay, like what's the title of the blog post? Because some people will click right away and go read it, but some people will save it to a board to look back later. You want to have the pin say exactly what it is so that when they're looking back at it, they're not like, why did I pin this computer desktop scene? You want it to say, here's exactly what this is so they can click over to it. You definitely could, like a lot of my clients will use Canva. So you can create a pin and then just click the resize and just resize it for Instagram, Facebook, any of those platforms, and then just do a little bit of adjustment. You just want to make sure that the dimensions are correct so that it looks pretty on every platform.
Amber, I've been screwing this up. This is why I needed to talk to you because I've been using Later and just using the exact same image or video for all three of those for Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram. Before I forget to ask you then, what about this whole video thing? So I've been pinning these videos to Pinterest. Does it actually ever play videos? How long can you make these videos?
From what I've found with my clients, the videos, we've been able to upload 3, 4, 5-minute videos in a pin. And in Canva, you can just drag a video onto the pin and it auto plays as someone's scrolling. But what I've been doing is shortening them to 10 to 20 seconds because I just want to give them a little taste of the video. And then when they click through, it lands on the actual lengthy video. No one, when they're scrolling, is going to stop and look at a tiny rectangle and watch the whole video. You really just want them to get to your website to see the full video. But yes, definitely video is up and coming, if not there already on Pinterest. And the cool thing about using Canva is they have these pre-made templates. So if you're not like a graphic designer who's going to sit down and make all the pins from scratch, you can just choose their templates, change the brand colors, make something that's consistent to your company, and then you just change out the images and the headlines. I always recommend have a set of like 10 templates that you can use video and image on, and then just use those every month. For every piece of content, you should create 10 different pins at least. Just the one image might not grab someone, whereas if you have a variety, it's all these different points that people could see it, and you don't know which pin's going to grab what person. With my clients, we create 10 to 20 for each piece of content, and then over the course of our contract, we trickle them out. They don't all go up on the same month. 2 might go up this month and then 2 the next month so that it's not just like a dump into the Pinterest platform.
For each piece of content, you do multiple Pinterest pins for that one piece of content. That piece of content might be something that's like on your blog, or like for me, it might be a podcast. What else would you use that for?
Yeah, a blog, a podcast, a video. If there's like a landing page with an opt-in, you can do pins for that. It's really any piece of content that's on your website. So podcast episodes are great. The one thing is you don't want the page to just be all your podcast episodes on one page. It would be nice if they can click to a separate page because no one is going to click from Pinterest and be like, oh, I saw this great pin about this episode and now I have to scroll through 200 episodes to find it. You want it to be very simple. I'm sure you know that you have to really lead people to where you want them to be because no one's going to land on your website and be like, I think I'll poke around for a while and waste 30 minutes of my life when they just want what they want right then. Anything that's a piece of content, podcasts are amazing. And with the podcast, if you have a video podcast or like you could take clips of the audio and make a video pin out of that as well. There's a lot you can do with video and audio content.
I think I've been screwing things up. I have numerous boards because I love Pinterest. I have my personal account and then I have a business account. And on my business account, I have aspirational boards and I have some geeky things and all of that. And I just assumed that those things would drive people to my podcast pins that I had. And I actually have a page that's just my podcast. So what you're saying is I should actually be maybe sprinkling my podcast in with my other boards.
Yes. So you should definitely have a board that's just your podcast. Let's say that you have a board that's about online marketing. You'd pin this podcast episode to your podcast board and to this board. You want discovery as many places as possible, but it's also good to have a few boards that's just your work so that if people are like, man, I really love this podcast, there you go. Here's a board where you can go through all of it right there. But it's a little bit of both.
How often should people be posting on Pinterest? I know that we're going to take one piece of content and we're going to sprinkle it out, but as far as should we be posting on Pinterest every day or?
Yes, really the biggest thing to remember when you're getting started with it is it takes a while to see results. Whereas Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, you can put up a post and people interact with it almost right away. On the flip side, Pinterest, you put something on and it can take a while to gain traction. Most of my clients don't really see a lot of significant growth for about 3 months. And then 6 months is really that sweet spot. With my clients, I pin 300 pins a month. And that sounds like a lot. Like whenever I say that, people are like, what now? But I use a scheduler called Tailwind, which is pretty common among people that use Pinterest for marketing. And so if there are 300 slots a month to fill, some of it's going to be your content and some of it's going to be content you're repinning of other people, because you don't want to just put your content out. You're repinning relevant content that your target market would also be searching for so that you can be discovered among those other pieces. If you take a podcast episode and it gets pinned to, let's say, 5 of your boards, that fills 5 slots of that queue. You're filling quite a bit just by going to multiple boards. So it sounds daunting, but it really is not that bad. And I try and keep the ratio of 60% your content and then about 40% repinned relevant content.
That makes it sound a lot better. So I'm taking this one piece of content and I'm repurposing it in several different boards and I don't need to change it up. I just leave it the same.
Yeah. You just leave it the same. Let's say you're taking 3 pins and directing them to one piece of content. You can put all 3 of those pins on all of those multiple boards. So let's say you have 5 boards, 3 pins going to 5 boards, there's 15 pins right there. It's really just getting that queue filled. And I can go into Tailwind as like a whole other thing, but there's also like communities in Tailwind where you can share your content into, where other Pinterest marketers are looking to share content out. There's a lot you can do just in that scheduling platform that really like amplifies everything.
It sounds like it's almost like a Pinterest subculture. Hey there, this is Heather. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. And if you are, if you wouldn't mind, please hit the subscribe button now. That way you'll never miss an episode. All right, now back to the podcast. On Pinterest, how important are having followers? Is that a big deal? Should we care about that?
It used to be a really big deal because their algorithm would show your content to your followers first. I don't consider it a big deal anymore because while your followers will see your content, your keywording is more important. For some people, it's really important because they just like to see that number go up. But if I'm like prioritizing what's most important to me is actually found in Google Analytics, and that's how many people are landing on your website. And if your keywording is really on point, and if you use Pinterest, you've probably noticed this. If you go in and search for something, the next time you go in, your home feed is filled with recommendations. If your keywording is on point, you've tapped into what your target market's searching. That's how you're going to get your content served up more and more. People are searching for it, clicking on it. The follower thing is nice, but that wouldn't be my hill to die on. It's like, how many followers do I have? It's not something you have to have for success on Pinterest.
Let's just go back to this thing of repinning other people's stuff. People will be more apt to come to your board and see, because your stuff is sprinkled in there, so it attracts them to your board. It's not to drive traffic to these sites, right?
No. When I'm thinking about repinning relevant content, I'll continue using my wedding florist client. We pin a lot of stuff like setting up your wedding venue and things that other engaged couples are likely searching for. So that way, when someone's searching for wedding venues, we have pins that are also related to wedding venues. So it's a way to tap into other target markets of other people that are serving the same people. We never pin other wedding florist things because I don't want the competition on my clients' boards, but there are a lot of other service providers who are serving the same market. So I repin their content because it's likely being searched by the same engaged couples. If they discover something that I've pinned to a board and my content's right next door, then that's great.
Ah, okay. That makes a lot more sense. If you're a business what kind of board should you have? Say, for instance, we can just use me as an example. I'm a vegan and I have a vegan board for my businesses. Is it appropriate to have things that are sort of part of your own life if that's your brand? Or what are your thoughts on having your personal side mixed in with your business side on Pinterest?
I think it's okay if it's in a smaller dose. I have clients who will start and they'll turn over their business board and they don't have a personal board. Everything is like mixed in together. If part of your brand personality is you're vegan, then maybe I would change the description on that board to something like easy lunches during the work week or something. Change the wording a little so it fits a little bit better into the business stuff. But I don't think there's anything wrong with having a little bit of your personal life involved in it. The thing that you don't want to do is have it where someone lands and they're like, wait, is this a business account or a personal account? I've gone through and been like, okay, we're going to hide vacation clothes and things like that where nobody cares. And if you're using your business account as also your personal account, you can just turn boards to secret and you don't have to delete them or anything. You hide them. So they're still visible to you and you can still use them. I know Pinterest is something that people curate over a long time. So it hurts to delete things. I am done having children and I still can't delete a lot of the things that is on my personal board that will never matter, but I spent a long time curating it. You can just turn those to secret. But I think it's nice to have a little bit of personal stuff, especially with entrepreneurs. There's a lot of stuff that we pin that's like inspiring quotes and organizational ideas, home office ideas. I like that kind of stuff because it shows a bit of our personality on the back end of our business. Moderation, I would say.
Okay, that's good to know. My vegan board is something like vegan meals on a budget because I do money coaching. But I also do have a board of nerdy old-fashioned calculators. How do you check your stats on Pinterest? Is there a way to do that? Or do you need some kind of professional account? How do you do that?
As long as you have a business account, you have access to the analytics piece. And when you log in at the top, there's an analytics button and that drops down to overview, I think audience insight, it says. So the overview is going to give you like the main numbers. And I always look at the past 30 days. You can look at the past 30 days of your whole account. And then as long as you've claimed your website so that they're tracking to your website, there should be a little button that you just click to just your content. So you can look at them separately. Pinterest analytics are very handy, but when you look at like the impression number, it'll be like so high and you're like, I'm amazing. This is doing so well. Impressions are just the number of times your pins have shown up in someone's feed. That is in no way like clicks, anything like that. I prefer to look at the Google Analytics side of things because you can look and see how much actual traffic, what URLs are doing the best, what pieces of content, and you can really get down into the nitty-gritty of it. I've had clients who they just never installed Google Analytics. If you're not willing to install Google Analytics, I would not even probably use Pinterest because you really need to track. It's such a good platform to see like what content's working, what's not. You really want to get into the minutia of the numbers. And for some people, that's really tedious, but it's really important to keep track of that.
Yeah, because then you can see how you need to tweak your content. Do you work with Google Analytics? Is that just having your own Google account, or is there some kind of plugin with Pinterest that you need to use?
No, with Google Analytics, you just have to have it installed on your website. And then when you go into the analytics, the metric I check is referral traffic under social. And you can see which social media channels are doing well. And when you click on Pinterest, it gives you all the top performing URLs and all of that. And if you're really into Google Analytics, you can create your own dashboard and all those things where you can really get into it. I can spend days in my clients' Google Analytics and just being like, okay, did this work? It's fascinating to me.
How do you trace it back to that particular pin? Is it based on the file name or something?
When you're looking at the URLs, then you can go back. In Pinterest is where you can see like the actual images and which one's giving you the most clicks. So when you're in your own content in Pinterest, when you're checking those analytics, then you can look and change engagement and clicks, and it'll show you all the images. So then you compare those two together and say, okay, what's doing best? Inside Google Analytics, you can click and it'll take you back to show you the image. That's the nice thing too about having multiple images, because sometimes you'll be like, wow, this specific one never gets any clicks. So you can get rid of it and not use that image anymore and change it to something else. It gives you a chance to really test what visual aspect is working for your pins.
You're actually talking about removing a pin, but just to make room for other pins so the board is not overwhelming?
I wouldn't necessarily go back and remove a pin that's been pinned, but when you're working with your pin templates, if you've seen that one has never really gotten any conversion, any click-throughs, then you could just not use that template anymore in the future and try something else. With those pin templates, some people love being in Canva and they'll like reinvent the wheel every month, but I would say like once a year, go back and refresh your pins. But that doesn't mean go back to Pinterest and like delete anything. Once those are there, don't touch them because you don't want to mess with what could be working for you.
Wow, Amber, this has been amazing. You're blowing my mind left and right here. Before we wrap up, what are some of your favorite Pinterest hacks?
I would say using Tailwind is for sure. You should definitely do that. Now, some things you have to create on Pinterest, like the story pins, that's all on Pinterest, and that's fairly new, and that could be a whole other long conversation. But using Tailwind, like I schedule once a month, the entire month out. Pinterest is one of those things, if you use it personally, you can get into that platform and days can go by that you're just like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. Being able to schedule and not have to go into the platform every single day is going to make it super easy and easy to be consistent because you can just do it and be done with it. Like I said, creating those templates in advance. So you're just switching them out. That's a time saver. And really sitting down and pre-writing all of your pin descriptions is very helpful because you can have your keywords that you want to make sure you work in and you sit down and get it done. You're not sitting there going, okay, what should I write? It's like these mini pieces of content, and creating content can be difficult. Batch as much as you can because Pinterest does take some time, but if you can batch it, you can probably do your whole month in a day.
Really?
Or you can hire someone to do it for you, which is also an easy solution.
Yeah, now let's talk about that. How do you work with people exactly?
So there's really 3 ways that I work with people. A lot of my clients are content creators themselves. They come to me and they send me 4 pieces of content a month. Ideally, I like 4. Then I create all the pins, I schedule everything, I write reports, and they're pretty hands off. The only things they do are approve the pins that I create and ask me questions about the reports. Some of my clients, they don't create content, but they want to use Pinterest. So in that case, we create their blog posts and then we create the pins and all of that stuff that I mentioned before. Some of my newer clients, it's a newer service I'm offering, they want to do it themselves or they have someone on their staff that want to do it themselves. So in that case, we do like a 1-day intensive where we're sitting down and mapping out their year. What's the content they're going to create? Here's how you pin. I'm teaching them what I'm doing. And they walk away with their plan, their pin templates, everything, and they hit the ground running. Most of my clients, they'll fall into those content creators that I'm managing and strategizing all of that and making sure for everyone that any traffic that goes to their website, there's a plan. I want to manage your Pinterest, but I also want to make sure that all that traffic, what's going to happen when they get to your website? Do you have an email opt-in? Do you have something? Because I've had clients where they're like, this just isn't working for me. You're getting like 1,000+ visitors to your website a month from Pinterest. Do you have an email opt-in? Oh, no. And I'm like, you have to give them the next step. So I want to make sure they have the whole process in place.
If someone has content and they come to you, do you then create what the Pinterest is going to look like? Or do they have to give you what they want in the description? Or do you do that as well?
Oh, no. So we write all the descriptions, everything for their pins. They're really just sending me URLs. When I first start with someone, we audit their Pinterest account. We do all the keywording. We write a big keyword report. Here's our plan for the duration of our contract. One of the big things that is good for anyone that's going to use Pinterest is you have to really plan out your content. If your content is timely, like you have things that have to go out about the holidays, you actually want to start pinning that stuff in like October because that's when people start searching. So we do a big plan of what do you have coming up, any launches, any programs, any holiday content, and have a massive calendar. Okay, I'm going to need this kind of content by this date and work through like that. But then after that initial onboarding, they really just send me URLs. I do everything from there and they just get reports. It's pretty hands off is what I'm trying to make it for people. Unfortunately, I feel like people with Pinterest, they're like, ugh, Pinterest, it's just another thing to do. So I want to make it as easy as possible.
And how do you get into other people's accounts? Is it through Tailwind? Does that connect with the other people's accounts?
They mostly just send me their logins. Tailwind and Pinterest are connected, but even when I'm scheduling in Tailwind, I still want to be able to go into their account to do any keywording on their boards or their bio and check their analytics. Honestly, usually I'm setting up their Pinterest account from scratch, so I'm giving them their logins. Oh. Or else they're like, I think I had a Pinterest account. I'm not sure. It's a lot of tracking things down at the beginning, usually.
I do want to ask you about advertising on Pinterest. Do people advertise on Pinterest?
Yeah. There is paid advertising. I actually refer that out. I focus on organic Pinterest, but the one thing I do know about it is it's a much larger budget. So the people I refer out to, you need to spend like at least $50 a day to get that impact. It's really powerful if you have the budget for it, but it is a whole separate skill set.
Yeah, it always seems like it's the big companies that are advertising. I'll be looking at vegan food and they'll be like Kraft macaroni. And it's like, I don't even know why this is popping up on this page. Amber, where can people find you? I know you're on Pinterest, but where else do you hang out on the socials?
For the most part, I'm on Pinterest and LinkedIn and Facebook, but my website is pinwheelstrategicmarketing.com. If you're interested in Pinterest, I have a Pinterest marketing blueprint there where you can like plan out, is this even for me kind of thing. That's there. But yeah, Facebook, Pinterest, and LinkedIn.
Awesome. And we'll have links to everything in the show notes as well. Amber, thank you so much. This has been so incredible.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, this is Heather. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you found value in the show, I'd really appreciate it if you gave me a rating on iTunes, or just simply tell a friend about it. And if you're interested in learning more about my profit advising and coaching, please set up a discovery call by using the link in the show notes. All right, thanks so much and see you next time.